Hello there guys, what is going on? SonOfChelsea back here again for my rational perspective on Al Hilal nil, Chelsea 1, Chelsea through to the Club World Cup final just like we did in 2012. It's all going to be about whether Chelsea can take that final step to win the competition on Saturday against Palmeiras. Two big things from this game. Like I said, after Plymouth on Saturday, KEPA Arrizabalaga, brilliant once again, made some top saves to bail Chelsea out when it got very stressful in the second half. But Romelu Lukaku scores the winner here. A goal he desperately needed, a goal of fortune in a sense. I don't think he could have asked for a better opportunity to break his sort of drought without a goal. And it's the winning goal, and I think there were encouraging things about his game after that really poor miss in the first few minutes. But it's that kind of feeling once again that Chelsea's performance tailed off. Especially in the second half. Now you can throw in the variables of once again Tuchel not being on the sideline. The heat, the humidity, has that played its part? Did Chelsea players look tired, which I think they did as the game wore on? Kind of the system again, moving back to that 3-4-2-1 and kind of the wing backs once again for me just not adding the energy and mobility that we need. And I think that's very much tonight for me. Just very quickly, I think kind of summarise why Tuchel has gone to a 4-back system recently, because those wing backs need to be offering a lot more and they just unfortunately aren't. Dave was really lagging in that game as much as he tried to get forward like he did against Plymouth at the weekend. He's just, the quality at times, and especially from Alonso, who I did think had a poor performance, even though Al Hilal didn't really capitalise on it, didn't really have much pace out there to really hurt us on that side in particular. It was still a concern to me. So unconvincing performance, but Chelsea are now in the final there, 90 minutes away from winning another cup, which obviously is the main thing. I think we would have probably wanted a little bit more swagger from that performance, a little bit more conviction. There still is that feeling that the attack is breaking down. I think that obviously Mason Mount didn't start today. I assume that was because of his knock. He came on later when the game became really scrappy. We also saw N'Golo Kante being reintegrated into the side. Hakim Ziyech starting once again. He's keeping his place in the starting lineup. I haven't had the time to look at it, but I can only imagine the run of games he has now starting for Thomas Tuchel is arguably one of his longest runs starting in the team at Chelsea since signing. It's been quite a while now, and it's been maybe not quite a while, but the amount of games Chelsea have had where he's played over and over again, I think it's helping him. I mean, he didn't have the best game tonight. He could have scored a second goal, but it's probably helping his rhythm. Kai Havertz, his diligent work to get the ball into the box that led to Lukaku's very fortunate, the ball dropping to him from a miscommunication from Al Hilal. It's very easy tap in. So I give Kai credit for that. He had that brilliant chance in the second half. Still unconvincing for me, Kai. He still looks lost at times. There still is a sense where he's just unconvincing with the things he does. Too often I felt like he was being a little bit too passive, being a little bit too slow on the ball. There were times where maybe he could have played a pass quicker or even been just a little bit more confident. Which is a little bit frustrating, and that's kind of a general theme once again, that even when you took off Jorginho at half time, especially in midfield, and you're like, Kante, okay, he's going to add more energy to the team, seems to do the opposite. Kante has looked a little bit rusty. He hasn't quite hit those levels that you want him to, despite kind of saving him a lot this season from his injuries. Lukaku, I want to speak about Lukaku because obviously, he scores the goal. I know that there'll be people turning around and going, he has to score the goal. It's the easiest goal. Any striker, is going to be bearing that, of course. But, it was something. I spoke about demeanour on Saturday against Plymouth and how Lukaku's demeanour in that game was quite negative. It wasn't just the fact that, he was struggling to really influence things. It felt like when things started to go wrong for him in that game, it kind of, the tide, he never was able to turn it round. But the moment he got that goal, and he was actually trying things from the first few minutes, trying to make those runs in behind, he was up against an opposition tonight that I think allowed him to make runs in behind the defence that probably he doesn't get in the Premier League, which I think definitely helped his game. But the moment he scored that goal, I felt he linked up well. I think he was unselfish at times. He was using his body well. the Hakim Ziyech chance in the second half that's saved well. I mean, that would have been an exceptional goal, really well team, build up, very much flow. Kante was there as well, the cross, the little knockdowns that Lukaku was doing from his head into the attacking players. Something I know on TV here in the UK they were analysing at half time was just, as much as we can blame Rom for maybe his lack of movement in the box, which I think was present at certain times in the first half, especially even for the goal. Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank was kind of criticising him for his lack of movement for the goal, actually, because it's very lucky the ball actually comes to him. But I also think it's the players around him as well, were just sometimes a bit too static. It felt like at times Rom, it's either those players behind him making the moves and Rom is static and he isn't really being active towards the ball, or it's the other way around. Rom is making that movement, the ball isn't coming to him, or when the ball does come to him and he's trying to lay it off for someone, they're not there. And it's that lack of communication. Once again, it's just been a consistent problem between Lukaku and the rest of the players. But he scores the goal, he scores the winning goal. Chelsea are through, and you saw things at the weekend after the Plymouth game where he was getting criticised, rightly so, and people were like, bring in Werner, bring in Havertz, which Tuchel did, or bring in other players, and he's going to cost us here. But he has scored, I think that's his 9th goal of the season, so he's very close to double figures now. And you just hope he can take that confidence on into Saturday, because he needs it. The attention was going to be on Lukaku tonight, especially after Saturday's poor display. And he starts, he scores, and it's the goal that takes Chelsea through. I'm just intrigued, the messages, once again, Tuchel, it's an unfortunate thing he's not there at the moment. Just in terms of where he goes with this system, because defensively Chelsea at times were caught out. Marega had that one big chance in the second half that KEPA saved really well. I think it was the best chance. They had kind of a flurry of corners, didn't they? And there was that one chance from distance that KEPA did really well to get down and palm away. I mean, that's another big decision Tuchel has to make ahead of Saturday, isn't it? Because Edouard Mendy's back now. Do you put Mendy back in goal, or do you stick with Kepa Arrizabalaga, who's been first choice since early January when Mendy left for AFCON, and Kepa is in really good confidence at the moment, isn't he? So it's good. It's a nice problem to have. I still will always veer towards Edouard Mendy, as unfortunate as that is for Kepa, because I think Edouard Mendy is the better goalkeeper, and I think dominance also at set pieces, where Chelsea are put under a little bit of pressure tonight. I just think Mendy does make the difference. I think he's an exceptional goalkeeper himself, riding off a big high from AFCON. I don't know. I think until Reece comes back, I still want to see the 4-1-4-1 or the 4-2-2-2. Just because I think the rhythm of our play just isn't as good. You could see that as the game was going on. There were some nice moments in the first half, but I just felt there was a lack of changes as well from the bench. I don't know if that's a lack of trust in people, or maybe Tuchel was trying to save the squad for Saturday potentially, or especially if it goes to extra time, you don't want to waste all your subs in normal time. But I'd like to see the four back again and get more attackers. I just think that it's just a little bit too slow, and you see the limitations of both Alonso and Dave, and it's just a little bit frustrating for me at the moment when Chelsea are trying to build through, trying to get those switches of play that are so much a trademark of our game, and we just aren't getting the quality in the final third. And I think too many things break down and slow down, unfortunately. I think if you go back to the 4, you put Malangsar at left back. Yes, he had a shaky performance against Plymouth, but I think before then he was quite encouraging. Silva, Rudiger, probably Azpilicueta at right back once again. And then you have the two midfielders in front of them, or at least Jorginho potentially in front of them, even Kante and Kovacic. You have Mount potentially, where he's linking from that right side, where I think he's really done a lot of damage in recent weeks. Ziyech, bringing maybe Hudson-Odoi back, or even Christian Pulisic. Some of those players just to get further numbers up the pitch, because at the moment it felt a little bit passive to me. And, is a lucky ricochet that leads to Chelsea's winner tonight. I think other than that, in open play, we weren't creating as many opportunities as the game dragged on. I think some of our decision-making in that second half was quite poor. So things to work on, because Palmeiras, they were in good form. They won the game. Obviously, the semi-final, they're going to be right up for it on Saturday. And as Chelsea found out, as Azpilicueta found out in 2012, as Petr Cech knows, despite the fact that Chelsea was still going to that game as favourites, you can't take anything for granted, as tonight proved. I think there were some people who probably expected Chelsea to turn up and win a little bit more convincingly. They didn't. So things need to be worked on. I think the intensity needs to be ratcheted up. I think Chelsea need to get more bodies forward, and hopefully on Saturday, again, a better performance. It's a step forward, obviously, from Saturday's performance, in my opinion, but still their work needs to be done, I think, to win this competition, obviously, on Saturday. So those are my thoughts. Man of the match, I mean, you always got to look defensively, and I think Kepa, obviously, Lukaku scores the goal, but I think Kepa deserves the flowers tonight, because again, he's really saving Chelsea at the moment. He saved them on Saturday from a penalty shootout. He saved them tonight from extra time. So you got to give credit to KEPA. Those are my thoughts. Subscribe to the channel. We'll be back again with more videos very soon. Have a great evening, and I'll see you again.